Hi everyone, thanks for coming to Insight by the Office Space. I'm Sam, I'm the Communications Manager at the Office Space, we've already started. Our Insight talks are pretty much just about bringing innovators in their field together to come and tell us about what they do, what they think about, etc. For those of you who haven't come across the Office Space yet, what we do is basically build and service beautiful office environments, one of which has or is about to open upstairs right here at Paramount House. So after we finish the talks today, we will be doing a tour of the space. It's very beautiful, so we'd love you to come up and have a look if you do have the time. So Insight today, we're talking about design business, and we do have some really amazing people here to speak to you. First, we have Design by Toko, who have actually worked with the Office Space very recently on our new brand identity. So you'll see a bit of that. I'm sure you've already witnessed some of it. I'll just let Michael take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's very tight. Hi there. It's very inhale. All right, thanks for the introduction. Indeed, well, actually, I didn't put it in the presentation because I think we need to put it in the presentation. You have to, ask us again when it's like really done, panned out, and photographed really nicely. But anyway, so my name is Michael Luke. I run a small design agency, but very effective agency here in Sydney in Rushcutters Bay, previously in Surrey Hills. We started in 2001 and moved to Australia in 2006, 2007. Moved, basically immigrated. Toko is a brand agency. I guess it's the core of what we do, but basically we design everything that's designable. So if you need a house, call us. If you need a logo, call us. I think because design, I'm not going to go into design too much because we only have 10 to 12 minutes, so it's like super short. Already spent 2 minutes talking nonsense. The thing is, this is us, so make a quick photo. Basically, it says everything that we are, and it has this nice thing on the bottom as well. Which needs to go. Areas of expertise, obviously, it's branding, print, publishing, signage, exhibition, events, campaigns, digital, concept, and design services. Basically, everything you need to create a brand and a house. Projects realized for, I guess, again, the Australian Institute of Architects. City of Sydney is a major client of ours. Corporate culture, Virgin Mobile, Bill at Lease, and obviously the Office Space. So very diverse as well. So corporate to culture. And that's what we like to service, basically, like corporate and the small individual, young, upcoming artists. Occasionally they call us, and I was like, oh, this is probably too small or too, not enough money. But if it is an interesting person, if the idea is great, we're really happy to support and give, I guess, use our skills to work with this particular person. Just a little bit of context. Where did we come from? Before 2007 when we moved here, and the context is actually the Netherlands. It's a country in the northwest of Europe. The capital Amsterdam, about 17 million people, and the language is Dutch, which is not German. Australia versus the Netherlands. That's about right. Not really, because Tasmania is actually twice the size of Holland. So, with these dots, you could not even visualize that. I think it's funny you guys are so relaxed, because if you look at the personal space you have, you should be relaxed, compared to us with zero personal space. Holland is one of the most dense populations in the country. The other thing you're so relaxed is because your general sky condition is quite nice color, where in Holland it's pretty much grey. So Holland is very well known for its design, but the reason is because we live in such a drab country that is so grey, so you have to design around it, basically. You fly, in Holland you fly 5 hours, you're basically in the middle of Africa. Here you still walk into Hugh Jackman. This one is important, that is design mentality. Holland is, very well known for its conceptual thinking, not necessarily making things very pretty. And I think this is an interesting thing. We talk about challenges in a second for moving to another country, and I think Australia is very aesthetic driven. Everything is about making things very beautiful, where I think in Holland is more about creating the concept. But said that, as you can see here, somehow it can also work together, and I think that's a balance we try to find. Create a good concept, but create an interesting aesthetic as well. Art is also interesting. Holland is very gridded, it's very tight, it's all very neat, and I think if you bring it back, to art, this is actually quite a good sort of interesting sort of comparison. We were talking about challenges. That was a little bit the question. I'm going to move this a little bit like that. Our top 5 challenges basically when we moved to Australia were these. And obviously, Hello, We're Here was the first one. So how do you get noticed? Very obvious at the moment, really. Different aesthetics in general, I think was a very interesting challenge in the beginning, which changed a little bit, but it was also obviously our point of sales, really. So it was a challenge, but it was also the one that actually gave us our first clients relatively quickly, and allowed us to sort of make a really good start very early on. Obviously, the network when we came here, we basically knew nobody. We had one friend where we sofa surfed, and that was it. So how do you start? Creating a network of people you can trust, people you like, creating friends. Basically create that whole system that everybody needs to be again productive. Productivity was obviously a bit of a problem. Whenever you did a project, you had to find a producer for it, from printer to signage, wayfinding, whatever it was we did. And then there's obviously Australia for us is a bit like, I guess, Italy and Spain. It's a bit mañana. I think we're in North Europe, things are quite effective. And in Australia, you just take it easy. So, you have to you really have to adapt to it. And then there's obviously finding clients, and then find clients with ambition. And I think that is really important. And that one will also be on the top 5 challenges now. On the bottom, clients and ambitions. And ambitions is probably the biggest challenge. Them against us, that relates to size. I think there is, in Australia, an interesting idea that size, that bigger is better. Which depends where you come from, but let's say in business we tend to believe it's the opposite, and we always say if you have a party tonight, you want to buy something nice to eat, you go to a deli, you don't go to the Coles. And this is a bit how we see our design practice as well. If you want something special, you come to a business like ours, or COTA, or Workshop, right? So size is not necessarily a recipe for being better. The might of canvas, so what that means is basically we just get more and more designers out there, but less canvas to work on. So I always explain it through, like when we started, we designed 12-inch or like record sleeves. Then we started doing the CDs, 12 by 12, so 21-inch to 12-inch, and now we got your iTunes stupid little, basically doesn't mean anything, icon anymore. So that's the, records are coming back, but still, in a way that is a downward spiral, but there's an upward line in regards to amount of creatives. Obviously, everybody's a designer these days, so that's fantastic. And again, ambitions. Anyway, so a lot of these challenges, obviously, we overcome. We still struggle with the last 5. Well, not struggle, but they're still part of our business, and something we really constantly need to adapt to, like a chameleon, right? So the business is changing dramatically. People talk about the end of print, or design is dead, or whatever. In a sense, it's true. So we do need to sort of reconfigure how we function every so often, and I guess we're sort of in the midst of that right now. We are very dedicated to the art, so a lot of our projects are infused with art or arts ideas. This is in a sense a commercial project for the city of Sydney, but it's infused with the concept of art thinking, really. I'm not going to discuss every project in depth because I'm already getting out of breath. Because I'm just trying to squeeze way too much in 10 minutes. But I'll just run through a few projects we've did over the last couple of years. As I said, we're one of the preferred suppliers for the City of Sydney, which is fantastic. We do many beautiful projects for them. The City of Sydney is one of these clients that jumped into a void where all the cultural institutions in Sydney decided to have in-house designers, which you can respect, but it's also basically killing off a whole creative community because it does not progress. If you look at design that you really appreciate and like, you will see that basically everything is either an arts festival, it's a museum, or at least connected to a cultural institution. Sydney basically decided to, fuck it, we don't do that anymore, we do it ourselves. And I think the City of Sydney is one of these very rare clients that decided that design is still really important and shares that in such with different creatives. So a lot of respect for the City of Sydney, how they run their business. Corporate culture, you might know, furniture, now called COTA. We rebranded them a few years ago. Art and About, created a little... Already? Whoa, I'm close to getting the middle finger. So I'm going to go through this really quickly. Caesar, I think, who is up next, we created their beautiful business, created their lovely identity, beautifully crafted and printed. Furniture design, basically a rebrand of a CH33, classic chair, but we also did the campaign for it. There's exhibitions, Danish design at the house, publications, signage, wayfinding, branding, Oscar Wilde. You might know that. It's interesting. Look at the photos. Has no hands. So that's the whole concept there of the logo. I'm not sure you can see it. You see that little bridge in the middle of the Oscar Wilde. Common denominator in glasses is the bridge. The rest is all basically different for every. So that is the way we branded it. So concept. I didn't talk about the word concept. It's great, but concept-driven design is what we do. Everything has an idea. And the same here with these guys are shot in a way that they can be flipped, so mirrored, and that allows them to be, perfect, if you like, as basically glasses are. Alistair Trung, Festival, 10 days, Tasmania. Venice Architecture Biennale, we did the exhibition design, the identity, publications, basically everything. Beautiful project, very hard because it is obviously in the other side of the world. Recently reopened on William Street. Object Gallery. Australian Design Centre, it's called now. Jaguar, Box, Art. Sydney Rides, you might have seen that recently. It's still... we just finished a beautiful campaign that's in the city right now. It's starting to appear. Ride Walk. And another art in about 1 minute. Whoa, close to the middle finger. The Future. See, almost there. So that was the work. So I think, like I said before, I think our current, our future challenge, and I think it's sort of trends in the industry as well, if you like, is keep on challenging the bigger is better idea. We really do not believe bigger is better, but we can believe whatever we want. It is it's really about convincing clients that a small practice is probably delivering a better product. And has is much more flexible and allows flexibility and a network that is probably a lot more adaptive to their needs. Whenever they go to larger practice or a larger agency, they probably will work whatever they have in-house, which is obviously not adaptive and will not be serviceable to their needs. Obviously, this is very logical. Find new canvas. So how do we do this? Find new opportunities, and I guess 2 and 3 are almost connected, if you like, and that is collaborations, finding new ways how we can work with our knowledge, which we're doing in different ways, setting up a new business as well at the moment, which is more gallery and art related. This one is very important to us, is creating a critical culture. I think one thing I really dislike about Australian design is the lack of criticism, the lack of the ability to talk about design in a way that you can basically express what you really think about it without people being offended. It's not about that, it's about growth, and it's about creating a healthy industry that can communicate with each other without feeling, that you step on people's toes, really. And at the end, I guess, it's really about staying true. You do what you do, you have to believe in it, and don't start, basically forgetting that and, being try to be somebody else than you are. That one is hard. We've noticed we wandered off occasionally. It might be better if we do this, but then, at the end of the day, we snapped back and got into line again and tried to do what we do best, and that's probably designing. And, well, thank you. That's it. God, that was like speed talking. Speed dating.
It's incredible. Do you have a pocket inside your
Yep.
Let me just put that on. And then you can put that in.
Great. Okay, what do I do? Just click next. Oh, you want to introduce me? Is that happening?
Would you like to be introduced?
No, not necessarily. I can just...
Just go float? All right.
Okay, there we go. Nice logo, yes. Hi everybody. Look, it's really good to see all you people interested in design to come and kind of support what the Paramount is doing here. Look, I think the one thing that we share with Toko Design is that Courtesy of the Artist is a concept-driven space. What we do is we kind of champion the work of over 60 Australian studio artist designers and art practitioners. Is that going to scroll through?
I'm just forward.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't really prepared for today, but what I'm going to do is kind of talk through each image, I suppose. So here we go. This ring is a custom designed ring that I designed. That's part of our current exhibition, which is called Rare Earth. Can I please get a glass of water? Sorry, guys. All right. Can I make this?
You can go back and forward. Just with that.
Can I make it go automatically?
No.
No. Okay. Anyway. So, does anyone know what we do? Okay, good. Let me start from scratch. Okay. So I trained as a gold and silversmith, and I returned to Sydney from the Canberra School of Art with no business skills, but I could swing a hammer. So what we did was we found a space in Surrey Hills, 10B Fitzroy Place. Leonard, who's sitting right in the middle, is my neighbour. And so what we set about doing was curating an exhibition that showcased the best jewellery and object design that Australia had to offer. This guy here is one of my signet rings that's part of my current collection. Excuse me. Right, so in my practice, I have a really varied practice, I suppose. I make traditional gold and silversmithing for exhibition, for production, and also for commission work. I have an architectural drafting background, so I tend to kind of draw on that experience to detail every single possible thing I can to create the objects. In this instance, I'm using rapid prototyping as a process, so I kind of translate all of my thinking into CAD and have it printed in wax and then cast into the material of my choice. Like I said earlier, I represent 60 Australian artists, one of which is Cinnamon Lee, and she's quite a prolific artist. She makes beautiful lighting, and her work is also driven by technology. In this ring, actually, it's really interesting because she's done away with the traditional setter. So with most jewellery practices, what you do is you create your setting, you send it off to a setter, and then they kind of plonk, the stone into the setting. What Cinnamon's doing here is really quite extraordinary in that she's designed the ring in two halves. Yeah, so she kind of scans the stones and kind of gets all the proportions right, and then once the two halves of the rings come together, it creates a natural setting. A really clever and innovative way to work, I think. And there's another piece. So in this series, which is the current exhibition in our retail store, we're working exclusively with Australian gem fossickers and stone cutters. So what we're endeavouring to do is kind of showcase to the world, I guess, that we have some amazing examples of natural stones, and we're working exclusively with a handful of stone cutters to create our custom designs, yeah, which is, in terms of our business model, it's where we're heading at the moment, yeah. So that's Cinnamon Lee. She's a little dynamo working on the lathe in the studio. So this is our retail store on the second floor of the Strand Arcade. We've been there for 5 years now, so we are going through the whole schmozzle of having to re-sign a lease, and again, something that I was not familiar with, having finished art school. You know, you have your tool bag and you have a bench, but then what do you do with that? You know, so the best thing I thought to do was to create a platform where we had a voice. You know, so something that we owned and kind of had creative license to show whatever we wanted, really, because all over the world, contemporary jewellery is primarily seen by the small community that operates and collects it, you know. So we kind of thought it was important for us to expand its profile, like particularly in the city where there was no galleries, there was no retail stores, well, that was specialising, I suppose, in contemporary jewellery and object design. You can't obviously tell from this photograph, but those showcases there, the 6 of them, they're double-faced and they rotate, yeah, so we're able to fit in as much work as we can. You know, you can imagine with 70 artists, there's 20 to 30 pieces per artist, so we have to find interesting ways of showcasing and telling those stories individually. That's the front of the space. And last June, we took the bold move, I suppose, to kind of start to communicate the story of the custom more effectively. We've always done that. We've always been an open studio and taken on commissions and projects, but we never really communicated it very effectively, yeah? So the first thing we did was to call on Michael and Ava, and they kind of helped us kind of streamline that process of telling our story, yeah? So this is courtesy of the artist custom. And what we like to do also is use every opportunity as a case study. So what we thought with this particular space was to use 5 artists. So we've taken 5 artists and we're working with them exclusively Australia-wide or worldwide, really, with these particular bodies of work that they create for us. And what we also do there on a monthly basis is hold events. So we kind of need every space to be really quite dynamic, yeah? It's a tiny space, it's 20 square metres, and it's amazing what you can do in such a tiny little space. There it is again. So in terms of our design thinking, we obviously use design as a communication method, yeah. So we've got this series of drawers that we keep stock in as well, and we created these little drawer pools that we got cast from super glue, and we call them sticky fingers, you know, so we're always watching you, so, you know. One of the other artists that we represent in our custom store is Emma Fielden, who is, again, another prolific artist, but she specialises in hand engraving, yeah, so she uses really sharp tools to kind of pull up material and create form out of that material, yeah. Possibly one of the very few artists, like in our current or in the contemporary jewellery community that's operating or kind of practicing this particular technique. That material on top there is iron, so you can imagine how hard it is to actually pull up that material, which has a beautiful patina in itself, and it has like a living organism almost, you know, on top of it. That's an 18 karat gold band. That's another Canadian-based artist. This artist is also, he uses traditional fabrication methods, yeah, so using sheet material and scoring, folding, soldering, cutting components together and then reattaching them once he's happy with the form. The material on the inside is cast plastic with raw gemstones. Yeah, so in contemporary jewellery, we're not necessarily concerned with, the cost of materials, or we probably hold concept at the highest. The most important thing for us is the mind, I guess, is what the concept is driving us to do. Yeah. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have more traditional techniques. Yeah, so granulation is one of the earliest goldsmithing techniques. Yeah. Did you have a question? 2 minutes. Sorry. And that's paired with beautiful teardrop shaped opals. Again, that's part of our current exhibition. That's the same artist, Marino Antonio. Now this guy is an amazing goldsmith based in Germany, and his specialisation is in kinetic jewellery. Yeah, so they're kind of minute, mechanical, kinetic objects. Yeah, so because they're counterweighted, they have these beautiful ball bearings on the inside that you can't see. But the second you move, that pearl will start to oscillate. Yeah, amazing. When we went to meet with him in his studio in Dusseldorf, he presented us with this beautiful kinetic object, put it on the table, and there we are trying to negotiate, really. And then he pushed this object, and it started to oscillate like about 1/2 metre by 1/2 metre in its width, So again, going back to the material choices of some of our artists, this artist only uses expired material or material that she's found on work sites, at the beach. These beautiful earrings are really quite large in real life. They're made from telephone wire, which she knits and crochets, to her will, and she does it while she's catching the train on the way home. This is an amazing piece, really quite big. It covers up most of your body. It's made from garbage bags and more electrical wire, and she pulls silver out of circuitry, like wherever she finds things, she kind of recycles and creates new objects. This is another alumni from the Canberra School of Arts. Really quite precise work. Again, that really articulates really beautifully. It's all about precision, this type of work. Again. And that's our two stores side by side, polar opposites of each other, really. So where we're moving forward to in our business, I suppose, is really pushing the custom work and kind of elevating and getting finer and finer with our design offerings, because the wedding market is really our bread and butter. So we're kind of really trying to, offer a point of difference. There we are. Any questions? Thank you.
Sorry.
Oh, you're right.
Just finding other my pocket bits and pieces of it.
Hello, my name's Charles. We're going to take a bit of a slight turn on the concept of design. I'm from a company called Wheretofromhere. Wheretofromhere, we specialise in designing the way individuals and organisations come together to create new solutions to really complex problems. Little bit of background about us. I used to work for a large multinational consulting firm, and what we did was exactly what we do now, but it was usually at the service of IT programs, quite boring, quite mundane, quite focused on reducing cost, accelerating decision making, accelerating timeframes to deliver projects. Myself and my peers identified the fact that we could do way more than just shorten timeframes to deliver. We could actually leverage the skills and capacity of the individuals within a business to overcome their most complex problems. And at the heart of that was the individuals inside the organisation and harnessing that collective wisdom to come together. Fundamentally, business is facing some pretty complex stuff. The invention of new technologies, changing markets, increasing demands from customers, making the reality in which organisations sit quite complex. And organisations are finding it extremely difficult to comprehend how they come up with a new way to approach that complexity. What we do is we help design the way they come together to assess and answer all the questions that they need to look at before they can start building a solution. And in doing so, we design both individual and collective journeys that these organisations go on to help both the leaders and the organisation design a solution that goes from vision, what does that future need to look like, all the way down to reality, what's the next step or the first step we need to take in order to execute upon that. The future's a pretty scary space for businesses, whether it's small or large. Hugely changing dynamic around technology. The reality of employment is changing as well. There's a huge shift moving from organisations having thousands of employees to a largely self-employed or freelance-based economy. That fundamentally alters the way that they structure themselves. So we believe that the future organisations need to operate as living systems, organic, dynamic, and interconnected, and ultimately changing and evolving quickly. The role that leaders need to go on and organisations need to go on is one of a journey, and that's what fundamentally Wheretofromhere is about, is helping that journey, designing that journey for the leaders. That journey consists of what we call high magnitude and low frequency type stuff. So high magnitude, large multi-stakeholder events and workshops done at low frequencies once or twice throughout the evolution of a design journey, but also low magnitude but high frequency. So smaller, more tactical type things, but on a more frequent basis of that journey. And that journey is comprised of what we call three main layers: a methodology, an ecosystem, and infrastructure. So like any large transformation project, it's built upon a methodology, a corpus of methods that help us bring it together. Design thinking, systems thinking, a methodology around collaborative transformation called the MG Taylor method. So those methods we bring together and we'll pull together and design it depending on the types of problems that we're facing with the organisations we work with. An ecosystem, very much like Michael, we believe that there's a huge asset in the ecosystem that sits out there. The individuals within that system coming together to create value or bring new insights and perspectives. We're a small business. We intend to remain small because we don't want to have all those skills in-house. We think it's better to nurture an ecosystem out there of academics, of businesses, of artists to come around a problem, depending on what that problem is, to be able to provide the best insight and perspective. And an infrastructure. We believe that it's critical to create the right environment for organisations to work better, to innovate, and to create a truly dynamic solution to a problem that they're facing. We'll quite often pull groups of individuals out of their traditional working environment and set up a physical space that helps them approach problems differently, think differently, use creative and dynamic tools and techniques to address problems. So when they go back to their business, they have a truly unique solution. The way we approach it is completely bespoke. No two problems are identical. No two organisations are identical. The fundamental piece to it all, though, is the individuals inside. They possess the insight and the wisdom to solve a problem. It's just about how do you harness that wisdom and bring it together in a way that is truly innovative, that is adaptable and can apprehend that complexity that the organisation's facing. The way we do it is a few different things. What we call a design shop. And that's one of those high magnitude things. It's either a 3 to 5 day type of workshop, and it can be up to 500 people coming together. And we carefully design the way in which they come together to surface the insights and wisdom that they've got, feed in external perspectives, whether it's from artists, designers, other business people, academics, NGOs, all people with different insights and experience that can help this business overcome their problem. We have a collaboration zone which is embedded inside an organisation, so it's a catalyst to transformation. It changes the mindsets and behaviours of the organisation from within, and helps evolve and adapt the way they do business, ultimately developing a solution for their customers and clients. And we also hold insight sessions, so not too dissimilar to now. We hold forums or salons where we bring like-minded individuals to come together and discuss topics that are relevant or meaningful to them, to sort of, explore what's out there. Where do we see the future? We believe there's three fundamental questions that the organisations we deal with are facing. Accelerated growth in Asia. The introduction of technology is completely removing the barriers that businesses face. Markets are opening up very, very quickly. So how do organisations, small and large, tackle that and grow into Asia? Systemic transformation. How do organisations move from just outside their own barriers, or outside their own structures? How do you create a marketplace that leverages across an industry, across a country, and transform the system as a result? And collaborative innovation. How do you harness individuals and groups of individuals to develop new solutions that may not be identifiable at present? So that's us, yeah. Any questions?
What sort of clients do you work with?
Really different sets of clients. We work across all fields and industries. The biggest barrier that we find clients stop working with us is our size. So we believe smaller is better. So some of the big clients we have, large financial services, telcos, they work with us, but it's a huge challenge for them to understand why we could do it better than someone like PwC or Accenture or these big consulting firms. Our value is in our ability to help them harness their internal value, not the hordes of people that we have working for us that we can load onto them as a business. But we also work across public sector, a lot of work in New Zealand with transforming the way government delivers value back to the constituents, ease of business, ease of interaction, stuff like that. All right. Thank you.